Good morning and welcome to the second episode of Ready Row USA. We're a new rowing news broadcast from the US affiliated with RowingChat, which has been around for a long time, but we're starting up and we had our first episode a couple weeks ago with Mark Wilson, who's with us today, and Ellen Minsner of Community Rowing, and who is a Paralympic rowing coach. So you can look that up in the show notes. And I'm Charlotte Pierce. I'm an independent publisher in the New England region. I'm a master's scholar from about 6 years, still working on my technique, progress, not perfection. I'm a member of Community Rowing, and I'm self-confessed rowing addict, as I freely admit. A rowing news addict and rowing addict. Our podcast is, as I said, a production of RowingChat and Masters Rowing International. You'll find a lot of information on that Facebook group. And we have a new website called rowing.chat. And today I have the honor of hosting Arshay Cooper, who's the author of Suga Water and a member of the board on Row New York. He'll tell you more about his career. And Mark Wilson of All American Rowing Camp, who's both of these gentlemen spoke at the USRowing Convention from recently in San Diego, December 6th through the 9th, right, Mark? Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, Arshay, can you tell us a little bit more about, I know that you have a long history, but just a brief bio and tell us how you came to be here and with Row New York and those groups.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Arshay Cooper from Chicago. I started rowing in 1997. I had a gentleman by the name of Ken Alpard who went to University of Pennsylvania, moved to Chicago, wanted to do something with his time and money. So he decided to start a team and what the media called our school was the one of the most violent and worst schools in the city of Chicago. So he wanted to go there, and he decided to start a team that started with 21 African-American young men. And, and we began rowing. There was a lot of obstacles. We didn't trust the water or adults. And but you know what? He had an amazing speech. He said, rowing give you the opportunity to travel, to go to college and do a lot of great things. And so, I took a chance and started rowing for 4 years in high school and completely changed my life, my mindset, my weight, and the way I interact with people. And after that, went to college. My school didn't have a rowing team, so I rowed at the Lincoln Park Boat Club for 4 more years. After that, began coaching. Took a break from rowing. Became a professional chef, Le Cordon Bleu chef. Traveled for years, and just a few years ago, I wrote a book called Suga Water, a memoir on my experience rowing in Chicago. Soon after that, started traveling and helping community boathouses start their rowing club. A lot of recruiting in schools, a lot of meeting with parks, a lot of working with coaching coaches on youth development and starting a team right there in the community. And the goal was to, make sure that our rowing clubs reflect the city and the communities we live in, and this and the great diversity in our country. And so that was kind of the plan. That was the goal. And from there, I was on the board of Row New York, began speaking at USRowing conventions every year, and now running all the programs for Row New York. So that's kind of been my journey.
Cool. We wanted to do a bit of a recap of what you guys talked about and who you spoke with at the USRowing Convention. And can you tell us a little bit about, recapping the inclusion in which they call the ID?
Yeah, ID. So it was usually called the Diversity Inclusion Forum. And now, it's I have maybe 70 people in my session, and my session was called "How Do You Make the Boathouse the Lighthouse of the Community?" And usually it's the same group of people, again, who have this passion to see diversity in the sport of rowing. And we talked about how do you go into, this non-traditional rowing communities and inner city communities, under-resourced communities, and recruit in those schools. How do you build relationships with schools? How do you talk to parks? How do you develop relationships with community leaders and buy in, get them to buy into the sport of rowing? So the message was more on, recruiting, retention, fundraising, and how to build a boathouse that's inclusive to people with disabilities, veterans, young people in inner city communities, and for everyone. And how do you create that? And everyone pretty much been working towards that. And it's all been, just, knowing what you know best, telling stories of how rowing changed your life. And, Maya Angelou said, we are more alike than we are unalike. When we all in that boat, we all want to win. We all get calluses. We, our back hurts, and it's tough for everyone. But it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. You learn to trust each other. You learn to move together. You learn to swim and do a lot of great things like that. And so that's pretty much what we've been talking about for the last 4 years. But now, our CEO, Patrick, has really, really been a part of pushing diversity and inclusion in the sport of rowing.
That's Patrick McNerney.
Yeah. And so, so what he done, he worked together with me, Tom Darling, Amanda Cross, and a few others on starting a strategic planning committee for diversity and inclusion in the sport of rowing. And basically we get together and we talk about what are the needs of some of these small community boathouses? How do they find funding? What are their mission statements? And how do we connect with each other? So basically we in a very beginning phase on how to work with these young boathouses and how to get them from point A to point B. And so right now, we are developing our mission statement and trying to build a solid team. And we do want to see in the 2028 Olympics in LA, a more diverse boat representing our country.
Well, and as being an elderly rower myself, do you consider like older masters rowers as part of the inclusion and diversity? Or
yeah, of course. I think it's everyone. I would visit a college house, right? And they would say, "Hey, why don't you check out the diversity and inclusion building?" And when I look, it would be just like either all African Americans or all Hispanics. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but how do we get rowers involved? How do we get different people from different places involved? But yes, I do include you guys a part of the inclusion. That's private schools, that's schools in the inner city, that's veterans, there's masters, that's everyone being a part of the same picture.
Well, it seems like, with our club at Community Rowing, a lot of the masters rowers are like, they're helping with Row Boston or the para rowing or the veterans, like, it's a very interconnected thing, and we can support those, other individual inclusion programs too.
Yeah, when I visited Pocock Foundation, the Renton Boathouse, and also Delta Sculling, and these youth programs that are just starting are really being pushed not only by the coaches, but the master's programs have a very big part of helping with fundraising and events. So working together has been amazing, has been a big plus to special youth programming, working together with the masters.
Hey, that's really exciting. And do you think that, not to bring any negatives, but is there any pushback on this? Are people universally supportive of the focus on inclusion and diversity?
Yeah, I think people are supportive. I think everyone's supportive. I think that it's people just focusing on different things. It's not their focus, but they're super supportive of it. And so they say, hey, those who want to do it, you know? And so I think our job is to do the work, but to just, you know, if people want to be a part of it by giving or connecting us with people that help them build their boathouse or their relationship with parks, I think that's enough. There is no pushback from what I heard, but I think, you know, it's more like, okay, let's do the work. Let's not talk about it. But to be honest, you know, for the last few years, I spent a lot of time traveling, visiting a ton of boathouses, and there are a couple of boathouses that been around for a long time in different cities. That's been mostly just kind of like masters rowers or you know, young people who started off rowing in college and kind of stuck around in those neighborhoods. And, you know, someone said, hey, let's get young people from other resource communities involved. And there's been pushback on that in certain cities. But, you know, and I will go and meet with those people and tell them how, adding diversity only makes the boathouse powerful. It draws more attention to the sport of rowing, and it opens, opportunities for athletes from all different places who don't have a shot of making the basketball team, but very athletic. Don't have a shot of being a part of the football team because there's only a certain amount of athletes that can be a part of the team. And they start to think about it, and some people are open, some people are not. But when it comes to USRowing and everyone that was there, I think everyone really was excited about seeing where our sport is headed and where our focus is at.
Right. I know that I'm inspired by, like our para rowing, if they can get out there at 5:30 in the morning, certainly I can, So Mark, did you have any feedback on what you observed on Arshay's track at the USRowing Convention? I mean, can you tell us a little bit about your brief bio?
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte, and thanks, Arshay. It is really exciting to be part of USRowing right now, and both Arshay and I are a little bit on the fringe, but we're certainly moving. We're moving things along and making note of what's going on. And I think to follow up with Arshay's comments about inclusion and diversity is really the way the sport itself is changing right now and needing to change. I think from what we've learned at the USRowing Convention from Patrick McNerney, the CEO of USRowing, and other presenters and other people that I talked with personally, and I know Arshay did as well, is that the sport is changing. We're not just going to be like we have been over the last 100 years. Patrick talked numerous times about rowing as a sport, the traditional sport. It's been involved with every modern Olympics in history, but the venue is going to change. The 2,000-meter distance is going to change. The sport itself is going to change, and I equate it, the way I see it, is very similar to the way bicycling is going or swimming is going. Not only do we have this indoor swimming now with the traditional events like the 200-meter freestyle, but now we've got triathlons, and we've got the open water swim, and in sailing we've got all these different events, and in bicycling we have different events. It's not just the velodrome anymore. So rowing has got to change as well, and I think that's one of the things that is exciting about the inclusion diversity, not only in the who, but also the how and the what. So now, instead of only having a 2,000-meter race that is an option, and now you can get more people, more diverse athletes, not just diverse people, but diverse athletes involved with indoor rowing, which is we're going to have a national championships in 2019 for indoor rowing, which you don't have to be the stereotypical model athlete to be on an erg. You can be a little different. It's okay. And then the coastal rowing, which is another big focus for USRowing and for FISA, also will develop different body types and different people and different backgrounds, which is also very exciting. So I think the things that Arshay was just talking about expanding the boathouse, changing the way the boathouse looks, is going to be transcribed now as we go into these other activities. It's still rowing. We're still facing backwards. Most of the time, we still have 2 oars in our hands. You know, with the coastal rowing, it's going to be a single, a double, and a quad. But and the indoor rowing is just different, which is great. So I think those are really exciting things.
I just read Arshay's book, Suga Water, and that was one of the quotes, or maybe it was in your talk, the award that you got. You're always facing backward, but you're looking, or you learn from facing. What was the quote?
Oh yeah, I said in rowing, we row forward by looking in the opposite direction. I learned it's okay to look back as long as you keep moving forward.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with that mentality. I think that's really funny that you say that, because that was the quote of my family Christmas card that I just wrote a couple of weeks ago, was always moving forward. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really important with our sport. And if we don't look forward, if we don't see how change can be a beneficial aspect to our sport, we're going to be left behind, because everybody knows if you're not changing, you're falling behind. And so I think that's really exciting with the whole coastal bit that's coming forward. And personally, I would rather see people on the water. And I hope that the indoor initiative brings people to the water. And I think Arshay would probably agree with that as well. Indoor rowing's fun. It can be all, about the competition, see how deep you can dig physically and mentally. But there's nothing better than being out on the water, right? So I think that's really important. Which is why
I'm coming to your rowing camp this January.
So we appreciate that. We'd love to see other people come down to our site in Florida in the winter time or other times. But let me give you just a couple of tidbits of details on the coastal bit if we have time.
Yes.
And just to let you know, around the country, there's a group of about 21 people who have joined this coastal initiative, and they're scheduled events for Boston, San Francisco or the Bay Area, Seattle, Chicago, Arshay's hometown, and also Sarasota, Florida. All those events will happen in the 2019 calendar year, and how big it gets is really up to US Rowing, and also to the venues, and also to the way people kind of embrace this new opportunity to be out on the water. They're different events. It's not the same sport. There's a little bit of orienteering that's involved, a little bit of navigation, and certainly aspects of more of that bump and run kind of thing that you might get in stock car racing. So it's kind of exciting. There's certainly, and then the weather, the winds, the waves, all of that sort of thing really adds to the excitement factor. So I think it will become, not that, we as rowers really enjoy the visual aspect of a 2,000 meter race. We know what's going on, but for the layman who happens to watch rowing every 4 years on the Olympic schedule, there'll be something a little more exciting to watch in the coastal aspect, especially now with drones and overhead video and so on. So US Rowing's making a push for this. It's really important. FISA's behind it. It will be a most likely, I won't say 100%, but most likely it will be an exhibition sport, excuse me, in Paris, and not in Tokyo, I don't think, but certainly in Paris it will be.
Paris is what year? I'm sorry.
Paris is 2024, and then LA 2028. So in Tokyo, obviously 2020.
Well, keep us informed. Are you? Sounds like you're getting pretty involved in this. Do you have a boat down there in Florida? Or?
I've got a boat in Florida. Teach people how to row, and that's the other thing that's neat about the inclusion side of things, and this opportunity for coastal is that the boats are they're awesome to teach people how to row in. So the opportunity to just grab somebody off the street, put them into a coastal single, they can be rowing, especially if they've had a little bit of erging or a little bit of indoor rowing instruction, they can be rowing in 15 minutes. And
well, as I remember Lake Beresford, it looked about like that, coastal rowing.
Sometimes, I think any water, but one of the things they're talking about is in Chicago would be then going into Lake Michigan. So instead of on the river, you'd be having a real coastal event on an inland sea, right, Arshay?
Yeah.
You've seen it, I'm sure. I have plenty of times where it's like the ocean. So,
just so it's not the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald or something.
No, we're hoping not, right? that would be the wrong message. But
well, I've been
it's pretty exciting.
I've been a little more aware of coastal rowing since we talked the last time, and I joined this Facebook group. The Scottish, it's hysterical. They're so funny, but they're way into it. You know,
we in the U.S. have really been stuck in the tradition. And I think that is something that is changing with Patrick's message. I think that's really important for people like Arshay and others that are out there, seeing that rowing again has to change to stay relevant. We have to stay relevant in our international forum. So I think that there's a lot to do. We're behind. The Irish coastal team has way more experience than the U.S. team right now, and you know, and we have to move forward, which is a cool thing to be able to do. So
good. Well, Arshay, any feedback on that, or
yeah, I just love the indoor and coastal idea. I love it. You know, I was listening to a Seattle Seahawks alumni speak about football, and the kid asked him. He said, "Hey, so what do you love most about football?" And he said, you know, his grandpa loved football, his dad loved football, and he watched an old video. His parents played football. His dad played football, and his grandfather played football. And he said, what I love about football right now is that there is a position for everyone. You know, if you're just kicking, if you're tall, if you're short, if you weigh 300 pounds, if you weigh 200 pounds, there's a position. I just love the fact that there's a position for everyone. And I think this opens up a position for a lot of people. Like, we went into schools and kids say, you know, they say, hey, you know, I feel like I'm too big to play basketball, or I'm too big to do volleyball, or I'm too short. You know, and the erg fits people of all sizes, you know, and just this erg idea and coastal idea opens up doors for every single person. Doesn't matter ability, where you are, where you're from, how you look. And I think that's amazing. That's going to get more people involved in the sport of rowing. So I really, really love this idea.
That's cool. I know that just our focus on rowing for all at Community Rowing is, it just it gives you a good feeling being part of something like that. You know, it's inspiring. And are there any other US Rowing Convention observations that you want to bring up?
I think the one thing that, you know, I got several times in hearing our CEO speak is the fact that again, we are changing. You know, we have to change. And I think one of the other things that was interesting, and heard it a couple of times, was the discussion about the USA Gymnastics. I'll call it a debacle. That's my word, but it really has been. And I think that U.S. Rowing is in front with Safe Sport and with other coaching education initiatives. I think we are in front. You know, I'm sure there are isolated incidences of wrongdoing in every single group activity in the world, but I think we're doing a good job. And I think we're hearing from Patrick, he in support of the opportunity to be a safe sport, and having an opportunity for people to be out in front of that, I think is important. So
cool. And what is the RITA, the Rowing Industry Trade Association?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah. So RITA came about from an old friend of mine, Chip Davis. He used to run daily or weekly his rowing newspaper out of Hanover, New Hampshire. It's turned into an international publication. But his idea is called the Rowing Industry Trade Association, RITA for short. And the whole idea with RITA is to gather the voices, the manufacturers mostly, of all of the sporting equipment that rowing uses, the Concept 2, Croker, all the boat builders, Pocock, Vespoli, Filippi, Empacher, bring them all together and give them a little bit louder voice in discussions about the way U.S. Rowing might present things and how they can better situate themselves and really makes the sport better. So that was kind of an interesting little thing. And we'll be hearing more about that organization as they formalize and create a governance organization and so on. But that was brand new coming out this week.
Arshay, any final words on the convention?
Oh no, just that, I'm excited for next year. I think the momentum was great. There was a lot of laughs, a lot of smiling faces. We got direction, and I think we got some vision, and there was a mission that our CEO set before us. And I think now that we all see that and we hear it and we heard it with a lot of passion, that we can race towards something. And I'm excited to be a part of that and to make things happen. So I will tell people, do not miss out on convention next year. Be a part of it, sit in those sessions, pay for it. It's a great investment.
Awesome. And tell us as we wrap up, what like the 3 things that are coming up for you, exciting things, and how people can reach you if you will. Okay. If you're acceptable to.
Oh yeah. So what's exciting is that we have these Waterside Chats every month, hosted by me and Amanda in Row, New York, where we have now people calling all over the country, and we basically work with you on how to start your boathouse, how to recruit, how to keep your young people, and how to be a part of the rowing community. So that's pretty cool. Second thing is I'm working with Mary Mazzio, who is a 92 Olympian, who's doing a documentary on the Suga Water story, which is exciting. We have Dwayne Wade involved, Grant Hill. We have some pretty good people that want to be a part of that. We were just in Chicago last week, visiting my high school, going through all the different locations in Chicago. So we started production in the next couple months, so I'm pretty excited about that.
No, will you be out for the Grace, Grit, and Glory? Because she's being honored there, I think.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think that's what Ellen said last week, right, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. So
yeah, so she's a happening person. That's pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so I gotta.
So how can people reach you? You
can reach me at www.arshaykooper.com. Learn more about what I do, where I'm at, and and how I can help you. I'm all about making sure that the sport of rowing is everywhere. So just reach out to me. I'm there to help, and I would love to see how I can check out what Mark is doing. Mark, where are you in Florida? Where are you?
Yeah, so thanks for asking, Arshay. I'm in DeLand, Florida, and I own All-American Rowing Camp. And I think we're kind of this ambassador or evangelical kind of setup, like you are, Arshay. All we want to do is have people row better, Yeah. So enjoying the sport, whether it be in a single or a quad or a coastal boat, whatever, just to row safely and enjoy the time outside. So All-American Rowing Camp is what I do. I also work for AccuDock, which is a floating dock company, and we support rowing programs and clubs all around the world as well. Currently working with a club in England on a big project, and behind me are a couple pictures from the Olympics and Rio and stuff. And we're a good organization as well. So that's kind of what I do. Floating docks and then floating boats. So good.
Your Mark at allamericanrowingcamp.com.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte.
Well, thank you both. I mean, I'm just really enjoying these talks, and I hope we can have you both on regularly. And I think we're thinking about doing about every 2 weeks a session. So keep the ideas coming. If you're listening, please. Send us in topics, send us your club news. If you have a club and you're having a fundraiser or something like that, we can put that in our show notes and, get some attention for your club. And we want to help promote rowing in all its forms. It's just a personal note. I'm the publisher, and I am looking for manuscripts in the field of alternative education, which is a wide area. So it could be coaching, it could be innovative ways to internalize that perfect rowing stroke. So I'm looking, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm actively seeking manuscripts for books in that area. And I'd wanted to remind everyone that Ready Row USA is the name of this podcast. We are part of the RowingChat network, and the almost 5,000 member Masters Rowing International group on Facebook. the producer of Rowing Chat, Rebecca Caro, has just sold her interest in Row Perfect, but continues to be involved with that group. So if you'd like to subscribe, you can visit the show notes and send us a message, or just subscribe on YouTube, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. And I think in an upcoming show, I'm going to be talking with the busy shop engineer at Community Rowing, Andy Krumpholt, who he has some great stories of these spectacular crashes and so forth that happen at the head of the Charles. They fixed a few of them. Like I think the one university backed into a loading dock and crushed the bow. So we have to do that in a day, fix it in a day. Anyway, so we're going to do that along with kind of a gadget roundup. So, useful gear that helps you with rowing. So anyway, rowing.chat, All-American Rowing Camp, and ArshayCooper.com or .org. Is it ArshayCooper.com? Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Hopefully, keep rowing if you can. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.